Hey everyone, this is Ryder from Skip. I hope you're doing well. It's Friday, December 11th. I have a very quick video update for you on this breaking news that the stopgap funding bill just passed moments ago, and now it's headed to be signed by President Trump. I'm going to talk about the stopgap funding bill, what this means for the chances of a stimulus bill being passed. We now have another week thanks to this last-minute effort before the weekend. So I'm going to talk about this, the stimulus news, and what's happened this week, because there's been a lot of changes this week, both from Pelosi and Schumer to McConnell to some of the other senators as well, like Bernie Sanders, and what he's saying in the effort to try to get something passed by the end of next week to help you, the American people, and small businesses. So let's dive in. Thank you so much for subscribing. And quick note, most of you know that if you want, you can download the free Skip app on the App Store or Google Play. Just search Hello Skip. We have these videos there and more detailed blog posts about the videos as well. Includes also daily briefings. For example, this was yesterday's COVID briefing and some news on TSA PreCheck. By the way, you can enroll in TSA PreCheck on the app in 5 minutes if you want to travel safer in 2021. Okay, CNN broke this news as usual. Here's what happened. This afternoon, Friday passed a one-week stopgap bill to avert a government shutdown that was going to happen tonight. Okay, if this didn't pass, the federal government would have been effectively shut down tonight at midnight. This short-term spending bill extends government funding by a week to December 18th and is aimed at giving lawmakers more time to reach an agreement on a COVID relief and broader funding legislation for a new fiscal year. So, with the $900 billion stimulus, again, I didn't do a lot of updates this week because there wasn't much, and frankly, I'm as tired as you are of covering no news or covering small talking points here and there. Lawmakers argued this week some of the same sticking points, frankly, that we heard about in August, September, and October are still sticking points now, and that relates to two main things. Number one, funding for state and local governments. Democrats want it, Republicans don't. Number two, liability protections for businesses. Republicans want it, Democrats don't. Those are the main things. And then, of course, some senators want stimulus checks still as well. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. You know, just to back up for a second, a lot of this is blame game. People blame McConnell, people blame Pelosi. You know, they're both holding out, so who's to say who's right or wrong? This Congresswoman, Katie Porter from California, told Yahoo that she blamed Mitch McConnell for the stalled stimulus negotiations. According to her, she explained that McConnell was, quote, refusing to bring a stimulus vote to the floor unless an aid package wipes away all COVID-related lawsuits filed that allege injury or death due to corporate negligence. This is the liability protection I just mentioned. And she goes on to say, he's absolutely just kowtowing to his large corporate donors here, basically saying, look, I'm going to protect the donors who may be at risk to some of these lawsuits. Anyway, what's your perspective on this? This is Katie Porter's perspective. She's a Democrat in California. I'd love to hear what you think. Porter goes on to say, quote, this is simply about doing the bidding, checking off an item that has long been on the wish list of the nation's largest corporations, Porter explained, adding that the companies are already, quote, protected from liability so long as they act reasonably and follow reasonable safety precautions with regard to their customers, patients, and workers. Again, just to look at specifics here, many of you might be wondering, why is this sticking point so major? I mean, basically, if they can agree on this, I think they will agree on a stimulus package. For example, the state and local funding, I think there can be some agreement there. It's just depending on what amount. But this really is a big one. And the biggest donors, UPS, Geo Group, and American Airlines for McConnell, all three of those companies have faced COVID-related lawsuits. As you may have seen earlier in the week, there were close to 1 million unemployment claims last week. It is going up. You know, we have 3 weeks left in the year. We expect maybe this trend will continue to go up. I just want to point this out because it's of course not going to happen, but it just goes to show you how the markets are so different than the rest of what Americans are facing. The stock markets have continued to go up over several months. Here's the headline from MarketWatch. Here's the case for Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, and the rest of America's billionaires sending 3,000 stimulus checks to everybody. And the main takeaway is 651 billionaires in the U.S. have seen their collective wealth grow by more than $1 trillion over the past 9 months. The rich get richer. We're seeing that more so than ever. I think this pandemic has accelerated this without a doubt when you look at how fast the stock market has risen compared to how everyone else is getting laid off or struggling to pay rent. So according to one report, if the ultra-rich were to share their, quote, pandemic profits, research shows they could give everybody in the country a one-time $3,000 stimulus check and still be wealthier than they were back in March. Think about that. Again, a lot of this research was by Americans for Tax Fairness that looked at a bunch of the billionaires comparing their net worth in March to now. Anyway, it's compelling to think about. You know, when we say, oh, we're going to give away our YouTube revenue to subscribers of this channel, obviously this is a drop in the bucket compared to what, say, the federal government can do or what, say, billionaires could decide to do if they wanted to help more. And many of them have major foundations. The question is, what's the role here? Should government be doing this, or should private entrepreneurs be doing this, or some combination of both? Who's going to step up? Speaking of stepping up, stimulus checks. Bernie Sanders wants stimulus checks. He said this today again in the vote. Senator Bernie Sanders has threatened to shut down the U.S. government next week and keep lawmakers in Washington through Christmas unless they submit to his demand for another round of $1,200 stimulus checks. Quote from Bernie, "We're not going to go home for the Christmas holidays unless we provide for the millions of families in this country who are suffering." He said that today on the Senate floor. He went on to say, "I'm not one of the members of the Senate who shuts down, does this or does that, and keeps you here for the long weekend. I don't do that." So this is not, so he's saying that, so he's basically saying this isn't a bluff, this is serious. So let's see what happens. Of course we need some relief. I mean, look at the numbers, it's staggering, it's getting worse and worse, specifically with deaths per day and hospitalizations per day. They're both at all-time records and both continuing to go up. More governments are shutting down businesses, so certainly there will be more layoffs, and many of these will be longer-term layoffs. So I'm hoping, I'm pushing for, like we have been for months and months and months, like all of you watching, that these folks in the Senate, McConnell and Pelosi, will take the time this weekend to think about what they need to do to get something passed. As always, thank you so much for watching and supporting our channel. Most importantly, stay well, stay safe, and have a good weekend.